Hello. This is going to be my video showcasing the web API that I just created at my first internship with FrankCrum. So I'm going to go ahead and screen share. So with this API, I decided to do code first instead of database first. So we'll take a look at the database right now. So I just have some values in here so far, so we're gonna go ahead and test first. So I'm gonna launch it. Go. So the first just background. So this is a connection library. So basically, the database has these characteristics for each person. So ID, first name, last name, LinkedIn, email, phone number, and description. So I'm going to first get, this is going to get all of the objects from the database. So if I go ahead and press try it out and then execute, it will return a list of everything that's in the database right now currently. So that's going to be SpongeBob and Patrick. So that works. And if we want to do a post, this is going to be adding, objects to the database. So if we want to go ahead and try it out, ID, it already auto increments with the database, so we don't have to do anything. Let's do random names. Doesn't really matter. So if we go ahead and execute this, and then we go back to the database, press execute, John Doe appears with all of the characteristics that I just put in. So that works. And let's say I want to, so put is an update. So if I put in an ID, let's say I want to change Patrick's phone number. Let's change Patrick's phone number to 4s instead of 2s. So, oh, actually, the best thing to do here would be to do a get. So this is going to get all the characteristics for one person based on their ID, so that we can just paste that in. And Patrick's ID was 2. So we're going to put in 2, and then it's going to return Patrick, and then I can go ahead and copy that so that I can put it in here. And we want to update his phone number. Let's just do execute, and if we go back to the database, it has updated that value, so that works. And then if we want to do a delete, let's say we want to delete, let's just delete Patrick. So I'm going to just delete number 2, try it out. We put in the ID, and then it's going to go ahead and delete it, and then it's going to show the rest of the data. It's going to list out the rest of the database. So everything works. Wasn't that hard. I want to explain the code, so I'm going to go ahead and exit out of that. So person controller is basically the main controller for this program. So we have the class, and it inherits from controller base, which is a class from ASP.NET, which is just a framework. So yeah, we're using Microsoft Entity Framework Core, and that's how it knows what this class is. So we create, I created a variable for the context, and that's going to use this class, which is right here, to basically make this variable. And then we're going to use dependency injection to put everything that's inside of this, which is data context, into this variable, so that we can basically use something from an outside, a different file in this file. So it basically just gives this program context of whatever we're talking about, so it knows what to do. So the first thing we have is our get, which is going to return a list of people of type person. And then it's going, so I make a variable and then it uses the await keyword because this is an asynchronous function to list from the database, and it uses the context variable that we just defined. Dot people is in here. This is just people from the database set. And then toList async is just a function that lists out the people. And then I make sure if, let's say, there's no people in the database, we return no people found. And then if not, then it's going to return OK, which is just status 200. And then people is obviously the list that we just created inside of the get. So that's pretty much for get. And then we have get according to ID, which is going to print out just one person according to ID. So we store the person in this variable according to the ID, and it uses this find async function. And if the person is null, meaning that the person at this ID does not exist, then we just return person not found. If not, then we're going to return OK, or we're going to return the person that we found using the ID. So now we have the create. So it's going to return a list of people after we update the database, and it's going to take in the person, which is just when we give it the characteristics of a person. And so for LinkedIn, email and phone number specifically, if we look in the code, or if we look at the class, they have question marks because I want them to be nullable just in case I don't have their LinkedIn or I don't know their phone number. So I made those nullable, but I made ID, well, ID is the primary key. I made first name, last name, and description required because those are like the bare minimum information that everybody has. So that was just an explanation on that. So if this basically means that if the user leaves it empty, then it should show up as null in the database. So I do that for all three of these. And then it's going to add the person based on the characteristics that the user inputs. And then it's going to save the changes, and the await keyword, if I didn't explain before, basically just waits until the database is finished before moving on with the code. And then we return await context people to list, which is basically just get all people. So after the database saves the changes, we're going to just list out the people. Next, we have update. This is going to list out a list of type person, and is going to take in an updated person. And so I make a variable called db person, which is basically just using the ID of whatever we put in to find that person so that we can update its characteristics. And I make sure we actually find the person. If not, then it says person not found. And then all it's going to do is take these characteristics and put them into this variable. So that's what it's doing right here. So that we can have the most up-to-date variables. And I check for nulls or empties because these aren't required. And then I save changes to the database and then list them out. So, and then finally we have delete. It takes in an ID and it's going to find that person. If not, returns null or person not found. And then it's going to remove that person from the database, save the changes, and then list it out, list out the person, or list out the people from the database. So this is what my migration looks like, which is basically just what happens when you connect it to the database and package manager. So I made LinkedIn, email, and phone number nullable equals true. And that's what basically this is doing. These are all this is the data types for each property. And for phone number, I chose in varchar instead of integer because I want to be able to have more flexibility with the formatting, like putting dashes, so on and so forth. Program.cs, I didn't change too much to this. It comes with Entity Framework Core, but I did add use SQL Server, which basically it adds the database context using the connection string, which is found in my app settings.json. So it gets the connection string and then it connects to the SQL Server. And then this I already showed person.cs. So that's pretty much it for the code. Thank you for listening, and this was a fun project to work on.